This is the Healey Brothers Show.
So welcome back to the Healey Brothers Show. We got Elijah Barbosa here, a finance manager at Healey Ford Lincoln facility in Goshen. Nicky, our producer, help us lead the way and stay on track so I don't get too out of whack here. But what we're going to talk about today is finance, how we can help people, what Healey Brothers does to help our consumers in the finance departments, what tools we have, the training we do for our people, how we get the best rates. And there's so much more we're going to chat about here, but at the end of the day, it's about the consumer and how we can help them. So, Elijah, if you just want to take a step back and just give us a little background and on how long you've been with Healey, what you do here and all that stuff, just so we know, and then we'll move forward.
So I started at Healey in 2014. Actually, I'm 1 month away from my 10-year, which is pretty cool.
We're getting too old.
Yeah, definitely getting a little old there. I started selling cars at Healey Mitsubishi in 2014 and sold cars for about 8 years. And then recently moved up to finance about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. A little weird with COVID, obviously. And now in finance, I get to see kind of the full picture of an entire, car sale and the process that a customer goes through. I think one of the key points to start off with, when I started in the industry in 2014, we were pioneering, or Healey Brothers was pioneering this customer experience that was way different than what every other dealership was going. And one thing that kind of woke me up and taught me that at such a young age, because I never bought a new car before. At 19, I was driving around an old Beater or something, is one of the owners had walked up to me and he said, have you walked into another dealership to see how they operate business? I'm like, no, I've never really been into another dealership other than Healey Brothers. So I took my time and I went through a couple different local dealers, and every time I was on vacation, I'd pop into a store and just see how they treated their customers. And I think the process in which Healey Brothers instilled in all of their employees from start was really neat, because they always worried about the customer. They always concentrated on the experience, and they were as transparent as possible. And I think this made for a really big customer base that was referral friendly, repeat and referral customers and return customers. And I think that benefited people, because when they came in, they were familiar with faces. We retain our employees, I would say, much better than every other.
We're very high. There's a couple areas where sometimes we have that turnover, but overall, Healey Brothers blows out any other dealer. Yeah. And we keep our people. We have people that have worked here for 40 years. Yeah. And we've only been operating for 47. So we have people that have came with buildings we bought, but they're phenomenal employees, and they bleed our culture and bleed Healey. So that's good news.
Now let's go into the finance portion, right? So the idea of it is like how we make it easy and worthwhile. So I think the best thing to start with is all the stuff we can add into it, right? Yep. So I think that's one of the best things, because I think one of the main focuses that we always have when we talk about financing, whether it was with Brian, Mark, and other episodes we've done ourselves, is the budgeting aspect of things. Yep. Right? So when I say budgeting, I really mean the warranties you could fit into it, the maintenance plans you can fit into it. So it's always worry-free, and it's a budgeting aspect of it. Yep. So if you want to talk about obviously one, how we are able to fit those into it and what we offer, yep. And then two, how you educate the consumer about why this is going to make your life easier to budget in your finances.
So I first want to get started, because I'm probably going to mention it a couple times, is we use a program called Darwin. Darwin is a really neat program for the consumer. It helps my job out a ton, but what it does is it makes everything transparent. So it's a menu, basically. You're used to going into a restaurant or any kind of store. They have a paper menu. You can view services to buy, right? It does that, but in a better way. So it breaks down each product. It explains what they do for the customer, how they can.
And we're showing this right to the customer. This
is a printed piece of paper. This is a printed piece of paper. Sometimes I use the iPad because everyone likes the touchscreen devices. But this is in the consumer's face. It's breaking down every product we offer, and it's showing what it costs them, whether they like it weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, or if they're looking at the total cost for a cash finance. Just to know that program is crucial to what we do in the finance department. I think traditionally people are scared to go in a finance office. That's where someone's there to scare them or convince them into buying a product. Healey Brothers has kind of geared it a different way, where we're educating consumers on why it's better for their budget. Everyone's used to a car payment, and then you have your variable payments. You have your maintenance, you have something breaks, you got different types of costs associated with owning it.
Yeah, things to protect your investment. We're here, correct. No one wants to fix a car when it's old. It's expensive to fix vehicles, and I'm sure they've heard it on the news or see it everywhere. It's not cheap. But what we also do before it gets to Darwin, we do the customer assessment. So we ease them into it. We let them know what we're going to do. We ask them about certain things, how they drive. So there's a lot more things that go into it. And the customer is ready to go, and they understand what you're going to talk about, I would say, before you come in the office.
Yeah, correct. No, that's a good point to make. Yeah, before they even come in our office, we're doing a customer assessment.
Which is important. You need to know what that customer is about because you're really getting to know them there. Obviously, unless they're return referral customers. So.
Yep. And a big part of that, like Jay's saying, is you have to figure out how many miles a customer drives a year. We all drive our cars, but maybe we don't know the exact miles that we're driving, 10, 15, or 20,000 miles. So this really gets that welcoming feeling, I think, for the customer because they know that the finance manager on the other side of the table is looking to do what's best for them, rather than going to somewhere and they're just selling them a product to sell them a product. These are things that are all customer based and specific for each situation. So I think that's a big point to make as well. With what Nick was saying on the products we offer, I mean, there's a long list of them. To go through them pretty quickly, obviously you have your extended service contracts, to protect your vehicle, whether it's a electronic concern, a powertrain concern, or anything all around. I think the Healey maintenance is a really huge part of the program.
We talk about that a lot on here.
Oh, okay. I want to skip.
No. Always talk. Always. We always want to hear more about it. I mean, so personally, I think it's the best product. I use it on my vehicle. So just talk more about it. You're the one that deals with it every single day more than I do. So service is something you have to pay for. It's you can't buy a vehicle and not service it. So I think the biggest part of Healey maintenance is it's taking that variable payment of your monthly oil change or your bi-monthly oil change, and it's turning into a package where you come in and it's already paid for. Not only do they allow you to roll it into your payment, which is huge, I think the biggest part of it is it saves the customer a ton of money. So we're getting our customers back in, we're saving them money. They're able to come back to the dealership, see our facility, whether it's updated or whether we change some stuff around. And they're also able to visit their salesperson, get a cup of coffee. They have homemade cookies at our store, so that's a really big part. We do have the homemade cookies.
The homemade cookies are
Thank
really
you, Aunt Deb, for those.
Yeah, those are huge. Our customers love those.
This will be my breakfast in the morning. Put it in milk.
And I think that once the customers are servicing at the dealer, we're able to catch problems or issues with a car before it becomes a huge concern. We're able to stay on top of customer recalls for safety, and we're also able to educate the customer on what scheduled maintenance they're able to handle.
Yeah. And also on top of that, so what prepaid maintenance, the main thing, you're not just getting regular oil change, which some customers think at first, and then these guys do a great job. It's a premium service.
Yeah.
There's other things that come with it, whether it's a car wash, your alignment, discounts on tires if you want to do that.
Correct, yeah.
Comes with additives to protect your engine. And then also comes with those extra warranties that are in the BG products after a while. As long as you use that service every single time, it also protects you extra than just
lifetime powertrain.
Yeah, so there's a lot of other things that come in it that these guys go over, and the consumers just think it's just an oil change. No, it's a premium service. You're getting so much more. It's in your payment, and now you're protected for life, pretty much. So
yeah, that's a big part of it. And I think, to add on what you're saying, the multi-point inspection is huge. There's two reasons I think that's one of the biggest parts of the Healey maintenance plan. And one of them is you can plan your service. So obviously you'll know when you need brakes or know when you need tires because you have this scheduled maintenance that checks it every so often. The other part is with Healey being so high tech and into resale value of cars is if you look at a Carfax from a car that's been serviced by Healey Brothers versus a Carfax that's been serviced by someone else, you have all of the scheduled maintenance. You know everything that's been done to that car, and it's much easier to track as a consumer. It's much easier to track, but as a consumer, it'll help your resale value, it'll help your trade-in. It'll help you keep track of everything so you don't have a big stack of papers like old school, so you're able to keep that all in one location.
It helps for the warranty companies. They need to know this information, especially if you use these certain products. They're like, oh, okay, now I understand. Now it's done. We'll take care of the vehicle.
Exactly.
So a lot of things
part of it.
And talk about other warranties outside of maintenance and service.
Yeah, there's some other tools, and not
right. So I know there's some for paint. There's some for wheels. Yeah. So just talk about those other ones.
Yeah, the paint one's huge. So we use Simonized clear coat, which for new vehicles is really awesome. It covers things in the Northeast that we struggle with, like acid rain, bird droppings. Everyone's had a bird drop on their car and wasn't able to get to the car wash right away, and it leaves a little etch in your paint. This protects against that.
And how long is the warranty?
So on a new car, it's actually lifetime. So it's a really awesome coverage.
That I didn't know.
Yeah, so lifetime interior and exterior coverage. Some small things it covers that are pretty neat on the exterior, like bird droppings, hard water spots. UV damage is huge in our area. If you've ever seen a car with the clear coat faded on the hood, that's UV damage.
As you can see, we train these guys very well.
Yeah. This is that's another part of mine. I don't wanna go over that.
We'll talk about that later on.
We'll get to that more.
Keep going. Sorry, I keep interrupting you.
Interior is pretty neat. So chewing gum, makeup, crayons. It even covers like any consumable food. And if anyone's ever tried to get chewing gum out of a product, I mean, you just.
So it sounds like moms will benefit.
Oh yeah, anybody with a set of kids is gonna definitely go through
And
that.
also
And animals as well.
Also, like the person that's obsessed with their paint and like perfection and having it taken care of and maintaining it through washes and stuff, like it's a great product to have. I mean, I like I said, I put it on my car. So
yeah, the active ingredient in it is actually what they use to coat bridges. So that just shows how far they've gone in the research part of it, that it protects these vehicles for life and they're willing to stand behind it. On a used car, it's 7 years. So even you take any used car to get a 7-year paint coverage is really awesome.
for sure.
On top of that, you have like key protection. Obviously, we all know the cost of keys has gone through the roof. Every key is pretty much a smart key or a fob that includes a remote start or 4 or 5 buttons. Typically, you see those keys, $500-$600 with the programming.
Yeah, I was gonna say just like the average is probably $500-$600.
Yeah, so you figure most of these keys have to be programmed by the dealer, and they have to be programmed for a long period of time. Some of them take up to an hour. So you figure you get an hour of that plus the cost of the key, and then you have to cut the little blank code in it. So it's a very interesting product, and keys are one of the most lost things. Yeah, key coverage, ding and dent coverage is pretty cool. Obviously, we live in the Hudson Valley. A lot of people do commute to the city in this area, or park in parking lots, condos, things like that. So ding and dent coverage, they have all the way up to a 7-year coverage now, which is really awesome. Obviously, we get a door ding. You don't want to hit your insurance for the $500 deductible. You're able to use our ding and dent service so that they can get that out and keep your car looking brand new. So that's a big plus too.
Yeah, and all these things can be packaged together. They work through it. They talk you through how to. They show you different options, and you're all seeing it on in Darwin or your menu. You're seeing everything. Whether you like to eat on paper.
Isn't there a wheel one or am I?
Yep, there's rim and tire. Rim and tire is.
We'll list all of them on. We'll show them all on the video.
Rim and tire is awesome as well. Obviously, we know Northeast. Again, we struggle with a lot of things in Northeast. Snow, plowing, ice, salt, all that stuff destroys the
potholes the size of craters.
Yeah, I mean, I hit one in my truck the other day. I didn't even know what I was doing. But tire and wheel coverage is really awesome. So it covers if you run over a nail, any kind of road hazard, if you hit a pothole, if you bend the wheel. A lot of these new alloy wheels are machined, and it's a very expensive replacement. We actually just had one on a Lincoln Navigator, and it was like $1,900 for the rim. That's without the tire.
A singular rim?
Singular rim. So that saved the customer a lot of money.
Pretty penny.
Yeah, then you cover the tire, $300. So it gets costly with these new vehicles.
And even the new trucks, the rims on these new Platinum F-150s are extremely expensive.
Yeah,
it's not just like the Mustangs and stuff like that are expensive rims. It's all the vehicles, the Lincolns.
Yeah. Well, my dad curbed his wheel on his Suburban. I think it was like $800 or $900.
Yeah, they put these 20-inch aluminum rims on.
It was $800 or $900. I forget which one.
It's got to be. And then the process at which they're all coated is expensive too, because some of them are like that chrome clad look-alike. The other ones are powder coated. Then you have like a machine polished wheel, which would be majority of your SUVs and on the Ford and Lincoln lineup. So those get costly to fix. It saves the customer a lot of money if they're driving miles.
Yeah, I mean, just if you go walk outside our dealership and go onto the road, it's a disaster.
Yeah, it's definitely tough.
So the main purpose, because I want to touch on this a lot, mention a lot, the main purpose with all these warranties and our finance being able to fit them in your payment is it's worry-free budgeting.
Correct.
Because now you have a singular monthly payment that covers all of it. You have a problem with your paint, it's covered. You have a problem with your wheel, it's covered. You have a problem with your powertrain, it's covered. And it saves like so much money in unexpected bills, and it's just worked into your payment, and it's just worry-free.
And I think the big word there is unexpected. I always go over customers when they're asking, like, what's the benefit of buying it? And we all know our budget, and we all know there's certain things in our life that are variable and unvariable payments. If you can get your car payment to be a set payment, and anything that goes wrong with that vehicle is set in stone, is a really good budgeting factor, especially with the cost of life, absolutely skyrocketing.
Yeah, I mean, and your car's your lifeline. You need a vehicle, especially up here. You can't survive without it.
No, 100%. And the other big part of it, too, is with the big talk of inflation and the cost of everything going up, all these products are ways to lock yourself in so that you're not paying an inflated maintenance price or an inflated repair bill. This is a set price now, and in my opinion, they're budgeted very well competitive to what repairs.
Just think about it. So oil fluctuates like this drastically.
Yeah.
Like drastically fluctuates. Now you're locked into that price, and some people keep their car for 5 years, and the oil price will go like this, but you still get the price that's right here.
Exactly.
Payment's locked in. So
Yeah.
we don't just say, hey, you owe us money after you use your own coupon. No, it's not how we do it. It's all locked in.
Yeah, and even that with the I still don't know. It's pretty hard to grasp, but how we do the maintenance package at where it is. I mean, if you look at the Gold Book, for example, at a $73 per visit cost, you can't go to like a normal mom and pop shop and get an oil change.
Or the quick lube centers, you can't either.
I mean, Firestone's $130 for the same thing, so you're saving yourself almost 50% from a competitor,
and with an untrained technician too doing
you're
it.
getting serviced by a professional dealership employee that's trained by the manufacturer on what to do. And that's a huge part of it. A lot of these cars have interesting service regulations. For example, an F-150, you have to let the oil sit for 15 minutes before you check the oil. If someone at an outside shop doesn't know that, you could, potentially damage.
Or if you're going to the quick lube down the street, because a lot of times I don't want to harp on it, but there's a lot of times young kids untrained and they're just trained how to drop oil, change it, rotate the tires, and see you later.
Yeah.
It'd be like me doing an oil change.
They're not even doing like a health check on your car either, which is like scary.
Yeah, the multi-point's a good point on that.
So
we did tire and wheel, we did key, we did rim and tire. What else?
I know there's a bunch. There's prepaid maintenance. There's Simo.
We just recently got a really awesome one. It's actually a 360 coverage, which is new to us, but it is awesome. In that coverage, you can bundle your tire and wheel, your ding and dent, a windshield coverage, and your key replacement. So this is a product that, every single customer is going to have an issue or has the potential to have an issue on one of those 4 products in that package in the first 5 years of ownership. So I think that's something that really is going to have a high penetration. I think it's going to benefit a lot of consumers because these are things that you don't necessarily think about. No one plans on losing a key, but when you do and you have to spend $500 so you don't get stranded somewhere, it's a tough service bill to pay for. So,
or a lot of like husband and wife, they both share keys. Say someone's away, you lose a key. Now you're really hurting because you can't like get a ride home to get your second spare key.
Definitely a tough one.
That's like a big common one you always see, and it kind of stinks. You have to go pay for a key even though you have another one, but someone else has it that's away and you can't use it.
Taylor drove to my house, and she gets out of her car. So great, she lives an hour from my house.
No, I know she lives on this side. Yeah.
Her keys fall off her lap and go right into the sewer drain in front of my house.
Oh man.
Swear to God.
We'll cut that for you, Taylor.
But we're talking about all those warranties. Do you have like a memorable story that happened at any time recently where it actually like helped a customer from?
I mean, it happens every day. So I see.
I got a couple of them.
Yeah. So I would tell so I just know for a fact it happens every day because I see all the claims come in. So all the claims that come in, I mean, you just know these people are like, oh my God, like thank God that bill would have been $4,500.
Actually, it's funny situation. So I've obviously sold cars for almost 10 years. So I have a lot of customers that I've built relationships with. But going into finance, I've seen some of these customers, purchase a car for another salesperson, and I end up doing the financing. And I remember it pretty specifically because he's a really good guy, but he's a little old school, wants to fix his own car, wants to do his own oil, everything. Doesn't want the warranty, and I remember going over all the benefits, and we're just explaining how it could potentially save you money. And we're joking. I joke with him, like, let's go open the hood, and you point out all the stuff you know under the hood. Because a new car is tough. There's like 3 things majority of customers are going to know. They're going to know their battery, their coolant, and their windshield wiper fluid. That's about it. Everything else under a car is either covered by a cover, or there's so many wires going to it, you won't be able to detail what it is. So I ask him, I say, what's under here? Point something now. And he looks at it, he goes, I don't know any of this stuff. I'm like, well, no, you know at least 3 things. And he goes, yeah, the battery, the stuff. And I'm joking. He's like, well, I know it's the intake manifold. I'm like, okay, cool. So you know a couple of things. So he ends up taking the warranty. We go over the whole thing. And just recently, this is almost 2 years ago, they just put a motor in it. And it's an F-150. The motor and the labor was about $7,000. And I looked up the warranty because I had to. It was $3,600. So he saved himself $3,600 on one claim, and he doesn't have to worry about a rental. He doesn't have to worry about doing it himself, and he doesn't have to worry about trying to source the parts at another dealer or a outside, small shop to do it. So that's one situation that I've seen. Tire and wheel, you obviously see all the time up here, so that's
they stop by the service department daily.
Yeah, that's a very common one. But I think even with the warranties, the largest one I saw actually was,
or known as the service contracts. So service contract.
Yeah, the one that I saw was the most in my career was $11,000. So you figure a customer that spent $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 on a service contract ended up saving themselves about $7,000.
And remember, it's budgeted too. It's budgeted into an affordable payment that works for you. But it's the peace of mind. Like and that person's like, oh, thank God I spent that at whatever it was, $10-$20 a month.
Yeah.
To get this coverage.
And the big part to note about that too is it makes your ownership a much better experience. So customers obviously want to buy a car when their warranty is up. That's typically what pushes people to buy a car.
Exactly.
Oh, my warranty is up. If you buy a service contract, you're able to keep that car for longer, and then you're able to plan your shopping experience around your budget. So instead of your car being broken and you need a new car, you're able to, for example, with COVID, there was no vehicles to get. So if a customer was shopping for a car at that specific time and had to get a car, it was very difficult for them. If they had a service contract, they would be able to plan their budgeting and plan their shopping around their own schedule. So that benefits the consumer as well.
So at the end of the day, I mean, there's a ton of products. They're in your payment. They're giving you the peace of mind. And we have the most educated people going over what every single aspect of it is. And then plus it's backed by the Healey brand. And what I mean backed by the Healey brand, like we'll stand behind anything we ever sell. We believe in that product. We've never sell it if we didn't believe in it. So that's another part of it.
I've seen the dealership, and I've seen the dealership. I'm trying to think of how to properly word this. I've seen the dealership have an understanding that something should have been covered under a service contract, and the dealership has covered it themselves because they wanted to stand behind that car or that product or everything. And it's weird.
And the consumer too. At the end of the day, we're here to serve the customer.
Yeah, I mean, the customer experience at Healey Brothers since I've started has just been above and beyond every other dealership that I've seen compete with us. And that's part of the reason that during COVID we had so many repeat and return customers, and we're able to target our local area with that business.
Okay, so now let's transition into the next part of it, right? Because we're not just talking about budgeting, but we're talking about like why we make it so easy and worthwhile for people to come here. We know a tough thing when people are coming in to buy cars is challenging credit situations, right? A lot of them don't know if they're going to get approved. They don't know what rate they're going to get. Well,
that's the big question right now. Oh my God, the rates are.
They don't even know what car they're going to qualify for. So if you want to speak about like what Healey's process is to help out in these challenging credit situations and get them into a car, really.
Yeah. I think what the biggest part to note about this is the lenders we use and why we use them. And our finance team in general, including all the finance managers and our finance team, is being educated on what banks work for what customers. I think this is the biggest pain point in current day finance when it comes to customers, because you can have the same score, the same customer, the same vehicle, and you can send it to 4 different banks and get 4 completely different rates. And I think the biggest part on finding that, even if it's a troubled customer, or maybe they got some stuff on their credit that may be hurting them, or even a perfect credit customer, it could range from those lenders so much. So having the knowledge on what banks to send those specific customers and what scenarios is one of the most important things. And what we do is, our whole team gets together and goes over what works, what doesn't. We're constantly in contact with all of our bank reps.
Yeah, we have them come in and we talk to them and knowing what's worked. So
yeah, I mean, these are monthly. They're coming in and giving us their rate sheets and explaining their programs and what's changed and what hasn't. And I think storing that information in your brain is what makes you better customer based and better consumer based than any other finance manager out there, is being able to know what banks to send what deals to. And that's a big part of it. We also do have a lot of subprime and prime financing options. So we have something for every type of customer. And we do have a guaranteed credit approval program, which I think is good to note as well. That's a very difficult program to come by, and it's very difficult to manage because you need a large inventory. And lucky for us, we have many stores, and we're able.
It's all shared inventory on the used side, so it really helps that customer. If the customer had a trouble pass or medical bills that come out, we understand. That's why we have this program to help someone get out of that financial issue and have a vehicle to get to work or get wherever they need, pick up their kids.
Yep.
So that's why we have that program, and we have it at every store, and we offer it, which is great.
I've seen those customers in my 10 years of working at the dealership. These are customers that started off on a rough path or a rough patch, and down the road they were able to make their payments and build their credit up, and the next time they come in, they're getting into a much better car, much lower interest rate with a better bank. And I think these are parts to know on how we build our local area and benefit the consumer. Even when it comes to another thing to note is when it comes to the commercial side, we have plenty of commercial lenders. We have commercially trained personnel that do our commercial sales. And I think that's a big thing too, is you're growing local business, because one of the hardest things for small businesses to get is capital. You need capital to make money. You need money to make money. So when you're getting a landscaping business or any kind of trucking business, a dumpster company, you need to build a truck that this customer can make money on, but you also have to get them capital to finance it. So I think that's a big part of it too. The finance department and Healey in general invest a lot of time and money into keeping their staff educated, and I think that's one of the biggest parts.
Yeah, I mean, just another one, we were talking about this before. You're like, oh, can we talk about it? So we also joined this other big group where other dealers are in. It's called Triton, and we work with these several different lenders, and it's really to get the rates lower and to buy our contracts and help our consumers get cars at really affordable rates. That's the whole point of it. Yeah. There's 10 other dealers, but there's a total of 200 stores in it. So it's a big group, and we work with these other banks. We have them in the store, and it helps these guys. They work with these guys. These guys give their opinion back of where we need to be. Yep. And I mean, we don't want consumers to pay higher rates. It's not. We want them to get the best rate because we want them to come back. We want them to be happy and have the payment, so they don't have to stress every month. Like, oh my God, am I gonna make my car payment this month? So we do all these things to push over to the consumer. And so it's hassle-free, and it's easy for them to understand, and easy for them to get the vehicle they want at the payment they want.
The only thing I want to go back on, you were talking about with one of the challenging credit situations is the guaranteed approval one. And I know why you were saying it can be even more challenging if you don't have a large inventory, because doesn't that program spit out specific cars that they're going to get approved for? Like, you might not get approved for this Chevy Cruze, but you can buy this Honda, whatever.
Correct. Yeah. You hit the nail on the head there. So the big part of that program, the big part of that program is obviously you don't want to have a customer that's already in a tough situation, already really needs a car, and they're coming to you for help, and you walk them over to a car and say, this is the only one I can get you. You got to buy this one. Take it home. That's a very uncomfortable situation. The benefit we have with having a huge used car inventory is also this program is a streamlined way to show customers what they can actually buy. It's an uncomfortable situation. You get a customer on the lot, show them a car, they fall in love with it, and then you get them inside and say, oh, you can't buy this one. So what the program does is it gives us as many units in our inventory as available and shows how we can make that car work for the customer. The reason that's a huge benefit is time crunch. A lot of customers want to be in and out. It's transparent, so it shows customers why they can or why they can't buy a specific vehicle. And I think the other part of it is it gives us different options that maybe you wouldn't have thought of. So by having a computer to back you, obviously computers are great, but you still need a person. But by having the computer to back you, you're able to get that information on your screen very quickly. So that's
and just to our inventory, obviously since COVID it was small, but now it's grown again. So now we have almost 100 vehicles under 20,000, which is most of these guaranteed approval in the beginning fall under. So it's really drastically help more of these people.
Yeah, and you were saying about the computer. I know you said you don't want to take them out to a car, then fall in love with it, and then you say
it's unfair.
You can't buy this one. So I'm assuming that means you sit down at the computer first and find the ones that
you give them a few options, or the one or two, or whatever it comes out to they can afford, and what they'll get approved on, I should say.
Yeah, big part of that customer is. There's two different ways that customer can go, and neither one is better than the other. But some people know, you got a tough credit situation, you need some help, and some people don't know. Maybe they haven't bought a car in a while, they haven't used their credit in 10 years, or whatever it is. So when you're able to work that program front to back, you're able to get all the customer's information. You can figure out what their budget is, and you can punch all these things into this computer, and then it'll tell you exactly what you need to do. So I think that's a part of the transparency. A lot of these customers that end up in that program, you see them come from other dealers where the dealers just tried to throw everything at the wall to try and make it work. And then you get a lot of inquiries on your credit, which is tough. Or you get a situation where a customer was in a dealership for 5, 6, 7 hours and didn't go home with a car. So our goal is to make it as streamlined as possible and as simple as possible to get that car.
And be upfront with you.
Yeah, and be upfront. I mean, these are things that transparency is one of the biggest things in the industry, and I think we've been pioneering it since I started in 2014. That's well before the internet took off and people were going on for internet reviews. We were doing it to get our repeat and referral customers and give back to our local community. So I think that's a big part of it, is being transparent. I mean, I started my business in 14. Like I said, I was 19. None of my friends or family members were buying cars at that age, but I built a huge book of business on repeat and referral customers. And the reason for that was because we had this transparent, process. That's a big
one thing to know where you said inquiries. you're allowed to have as many inquiries in a certain amount of days. I think we were talking about this with Brian, and it will only count as one inquiry on your credit. So if you are sitting in a finance office and your phone dings from Experian showing all these different banks that they use, it will only count as one.
Correct. Yeah, Fair Credit Lending Act. So it's the same as a mortgage. These banks, and they want the consumer to have the ability to shop. So if you can only go to one place and only get one rate, you don't really know what's the best. So they give you the opportunity on your credit to have that handful of inquiries for the same buying experience.
I don't remember what the range is. I don't know how many days it's.
I think it's within 7, but I would have to double check before we say that.
But I mean, it also just, it's like you said, to give the customer an opportunity, but also it's I think what you're really getting at is you sit down, they run your credit all these times and they don't get you done, and then you have to go to another dealership, you spend all the time. It's like a little frustrating, like, oh man, like, am I going to get a car? I need to get to work. I need to get to work next week. So
yeah, no, it's definitely
it's a great program.
I think the last thing you guys want to talk about was really Healey's commitment to keeping people like Elijah and other finance within the organization.
So I think it's very important that the consumer always knows how much effort and time that our team is putting in finance to help give them the best possible experience, find them the best deals, get them the best rates, but also how much we invest in their training and working with the banks and working with these other programs and dealerships and learning ourselves how to be better. So if you just want to touch on what we do at Healey to really learn and then push it on the consumer so we can help them.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest parts, and you got to thank Pete at ProMark for this too, is
Pete's great.
Pete sends us, it could be daily, it could be weekly emails, and we have a monthly meeting. But Pete backs us 100% on all of our products and all of the situations. As we all know, the world's changing day to day, our industry even more than most. So I think it's a big deal to kind of follow what's changing in the banking industry, because that directly relates to us, and also the dealership industry.
And laws. And the laws that change.
Oh, and the local laws. And Pete's great about keeping us up to date with those. And like you were saying with inventory, we went from having no inventory to having a surplus of inventory. So that's a big plus for us. But I think following all that and being super educated is huge. And I mean, we have weekly emails, we have weekly reminders. Whenever a bank gets a new program or a new lending service, we're right on top of it. All of our programs, I mean, we have every program you can imagine to, properly appraise a vehicle so the consumer's getting the most money for it. Properly shop that number against local competitors. Then, like I said, Darwin is a consumer-based menu that I'm able to edit, and the customer can see exactly what I'm doing on the other end. All these are technological advances that benefit us, but also help the consumer, and help us stay educated and stay compliant. So I think that's a big part of it.
Another thing, like for the training side, there's no way we're training weekly, daily. They can call Pete whenever. He has a little school where we send our new people to, or if someone wants to go back to, it's off-site. They learn. They're learning about how to work with customers and all this stuff to really benefit the consumer.
Yeah.
So it's really important to us that our consumers get the best possible experience in a timely fashion, newer technology, transparency, and the best possible deal in the area. That's really the focus when we have all this in mind, when we do this training, when we send you guys out, when we do these programs and all that. So
yeah, I think the experience we've created and or we're still creating, but the process in which all of the employees are trained. I mean, I started as a sales rep and watched a lot of people train for finance in different positions, but how Healey Brothers and their employees are training these customer facing positions is huge. Everyone's ready to take care of a customer, make sure they have a good experience. I mean, if you're walking around the showroom, do you want a bottle of water? Do you like a cup of coffee? So everyone's really working together. And I think, that's what makes it so beneficial, is you walk in and these customers are immediately comfortable with where they're at. And that's big when you're in a car dealership. Typically that's not the norm, I would say.
No, I would say we're above the average for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, hit that subscribe button, and follow us at Healey Brothers on all social platforms.